Hi guys, it's Jacob from Stringbuzz here, stringbuzzworld.org being a music journalism site, links are in the description down below. And we have a brand new song review for you today, and it's the latest track by Rise Against, and that's The Violence. So I'm going to refer to the original article as I usually do for these videos, so I hope you enjoy. So after taking a little break to continue other charity projects recently over this weekend, you'll find out much more about that over the coming few days. There should be some videos about it even. I thought I'd return to reviewing with a bit of a bang, I guess you could say. This track I had no idea was being released this early, although Rise Against are just as popular now as they ever really have been. I guess from a fan base wise, you know, their fan base is just as loyal as it ever has been. I must admit that I don't really often hear their name used in conversation here anymore. So should we see what I thought of this brand new track anyway? Well, it's okay, and it definitely fits into the Rise Against discography, but I did find it somewhat of a forgettable tune. Even though I wasn't expecting riffs and eloquent guitar sections, I did find the strumming in particular a little uninspired and kind of secondary throughout the track, which you don't really want since the guitar should be the driving force behind your track. Also, the vocal performance is very by the numbers, and by that I did mean it was sort of functional. I felt that from an outsider's perspective, each note was really dramatized in the exact same way as you'd really predict. And it did sound like a bit of a rehash of some older Rise Against melodies in particular. It's not necessarily a bad thing, and fans will probably appreciate this, but it just made me find the track a little unsurprising, I think is the best word to use. It's certainly not a bad track. I wouldn't go so far at all to say it's a bad track. It's nowhere near being a bad track, but it's one that I can easily overlook in favor of many other great tracks that have been released, especially over the last fortnight or so. When it comes to the production of this track, again, it was a little bit functional for me, but it wasn't bad or anything like that. The guitars possess your average overdriven tone, not sounding too dominant in the mix, as I've already said, but it wasn't swamping it either, which is also a good thing. So it was just okay, really. The drums don't have too much impact to them, and I think I would have preferred them to have a little more impact, especially since this is quite a big anthemic type rock track, because the kick is a little bit too thin for me, and the snare doesn't really have the bite that you really want it to have. Again, I must reiterate that these aren't strictly negative points, but rather just my preference when it comes to mixing. The vocals sound really well mixed though, in my opinion, keeping the gating at a minimum and sounding largely organic throughout the entirety of this runtime. The bass is also a little bit thin for me, but then it is being frenetically strummed in the musicality section, so I couldn't really expect too much more. Musicality wise, well, again, there aren't any glaring faults or flaws here or anything like that, but I did find it a little bit too safe for me. I think those lazy chord progressions in particular, and also predictable transitions, added a lot to this notion, since it just felt as if it drifted from trope to trope, where you could really sort of expect things and then feel a little dissatisfied about how obvious things were really going to turn out. The vocal melodies are a little bit monotonous for me. The track doesn't really carry much weight to it, which it needed to pull off this anthemic style. The bass is a little thin, as I've already said, and occasionally just missing at times, and I just feel like it could have been a bit more thought out, really. It seemed like a bit of a rushed track. A big problem for me though is that the verses, choruses and pre-choruses never really varied from this very plain style. The track never introduced any other flavors or instances of decoration, and I think that again could have been a little more concentrated, just would have brought the track up a little bit. Lyrically, the song is a little bit corny, it is a little bit cheesy, but I've heard much worse from groups from that era, so I'm inclined to give it somewhat of a free pass. So all in all, it's an okay track, and ones I think fans will appreciate, but a little bit expendable for me. So I gave it a G rating of 5 out of 10, which is just straight down the middle. So if you like this video, then please leave a like, subscribe to see more, and I'll see you around next time. Bye-bye.